Thank you, Brad. Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad to see this enormous turnout. The Staunton Democratic Committee and the Warner Committee really worked hard to get people out here. And it's hot. I'm going to do the nicest thing I can and make this short. Alrighty. But I do have to welcome a few people and recognize a few folks in the crowd, some VIPs. I would like to recognize Vice Mayor of Staunton, Brad Arrowwood. Brad is in the house. I would like to recognize our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Eric Irizarry. We also have the Staunton City Schools Chairwoman, Kristen Siegel, Dr. Kristen Siegel. We have our Mayor of Waynesboro, Kenny Lee. We have the Vice Mayor of Waynesboro, Lori Akambi. We have we have the Waynesboro School Board, Nigel Stewart. Thank you. We also have Deborah Freeman from the Waynesboro School Board. And from our brothers and sisters in Augusta County, we have Samantha Hughes, the chair of Augusta Democratic Committee. Missionary. All righty. We have Christopher Benjamin, the infamous chair of the Staunton Democratic Committee. And we have Mrs. Ashley Jackson, the chair of Waynesboro Democratic Committee. I said I was going to make this short. Oh my goodness, I see former Senator Frank Nolan in the house. All righty, good to see you, Frank. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. My name is Michelle Edwards. I'm the mayor of Staunton. I welcome you to our fair city, whether you came from across town or you came across the mountain or you came across the valley. You are welcome here. And I am very happy, very proud to introduce and welcome Senator Mark Warner to Staunton. Please help me in welcoming Senator Warner.
Thank you. We should also, this is the mayor's 27th anniversary. Wow. And she's going to go off and be with her hubby. Wow. But thank you for your commitment to public service. Thank you. Welcome you to your wonderful city. It is great. Go off and have a good Friday night. Go wild, you kids. Wow, what a great turnout. I can remember Staunton, Waynesboro, Augusta County events that could fit in that booth. You know, it is, and get plenty of beers because I got a couple things to say and we'll get questions and stuff, but boy, this is a great, great turnout. And I cannot thank you enough on an early, cool Friday evening. I wonder if those people, in light of, thank goodness we had a little bit of the rain, but even in Augusta County, are people still denying that there's anything going on with the climate? This heat and the kind of nasty stuff from the fires, I don't know, was it bad earlier today? Because it was just awful. I met with a bunch of black ministers in Arlington, and it got to Winchester, you could hardly see, you know, maybe it was just the Lord or something, but coming into Harrisonburg, it started to clear up. And a little bit of, now we got the rain and things look pretty darn nice. Now, if we could just lose 15 degrees from the heat, it'd be a nice Friday afternoon. But thank you all for coming out. Yeah, I've been doing this for a while, and I am so grateful for everybody. Let me tell you right up front, I'm here to ask you to support me for my last campaign. Will you help me get reelected this year? Win, lose, or draw. This is my last one, because it is time to kind of pick up and move on and bring on a lot more young people. But I can tell you this much. I sure as hell was not going to quit while Donald Trump was sitting down to sleep. And did any of you, you should get hazardous duty pay if you did. Because Did any of you watch Mr. Trump last night?
I had to wash my hair.
We watched you as well.
Well, I tell you, we have made progress. I mean, the reviews are in. This guy got trashed by everyone. Even Fox News said, well, he's made all these claims, but he's not made any proof. ABC, NBC didn't cover him. I don't think CNN even had him on live. MSNBC didn't have maybe the show for a while. But I kind of lost it because I was hot last night too. And when you're doing these after calls, and we've been ready for this, and I was so angry at what he said. I did an interview with CBS, and kind of got a little angry. Because CBS was the only national network that treated this as news. This wasn't news. I just think for those of us who are slightly of my age generation, you would remember the name Edward Murrow, the CBS broadcaster who was always the paragon of truth, spoke out against the Red Scare in the 50s. Edward Murrow has to be rolling over in his grave. Because I think yesterday afternoon, CBS News was not going to cover it. But this new leadership, ownership crowd forced it. But last night, watching Donald Trump, and I said this last night, but not as a Democrat, not as a politician, I was embarrassed for our country. You know, the idea that this loser, Donald Trump, still cannot acknowledge that he lost in 2020. He has now made a prerequisite that anyone he nominates for any position, from dog catcher to, unfortunately, director of national intelligence, they can't answer the question, who won 2020? If they do, they answer it truthfully, they'll get their nomination yanked. They'll go through, Joe Biden was certified and this. Baloney. Joe Biden won in 2020. Donald Trump lost. And he has been obsessed about that since that time. And while last night was embarrassing, I do fear, and I've been saying this for 9 months, if we have free and fair elections, we are going to kick their tails. Donald Trump, I believe, will do things to try to stop us from having free and fair elections. Last night he tried to throw kind of under the bus our free and fair election system that we have in America. That was disgraceful. He was trying to advocate, and this is the wacky part, he was trying to advocate that the only election that somehow foreign interference or foreign influence took place in was the 2020 election. Guess who was running the Intelligence Committee in 2020? It was Donald Trump and his allies. And it is, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. I was vice chair of the Intelligence Committee for the last 10 years. I know what happened in those years. The foreign nation that tried to mess with us the most in 2016 and 2020 and 2022, 2024 were the Russians. Donald Trump never said anything bad about Vladimir Putin. That's still one of the great unknown mysteries of the past. Iran actually did try to interfere not interfere, but influence, because there's a difference between an influence campaign, which is social media driven, or interference, which is where you try to break in to polling stations or change results. China, we don't know. They may have had some influence, but his intelligence community assessment said absolutely no votes were changed. We have no ability to say whether any kind of that influence was effective or not. There has been no evidence. His intelligence community assessed that. And for him now, what I'm fearful of is that over the next coming weeks, with this ploy didn't work, he may suddenly try to say, well, I'm going to try to decree this type of voting machine not being able to be used. You can't change out voting machines in August of election year. Matter of fact, he's particularly obsessed, we don't use these in Virginia, about this company called Dominion Voting. So by the way, when Fox News publicized his rants against Dominion, they got sued for libel, and they settled and paid Dominion $800 million. So they had this convoluted theory that I don't completely get it, that the Venezuelans and Italians and a satellite somehow broke into Dominion voting machines, and it's wackadoodle on steroids. But we have to stand up against this because he has already dismantled. The irony is many of the election protection activities that were put in place between 2016 and 2020 after the Russian interference. He has systemically dismantled those, National Intelligence, at FBI, at NSA. He's recently, I know I'm kind of nerding out already, and fired everybody, the senior leadership, Democrats and Republicans, at the Elections Assistance Commission, which is the group that's supposed to work with states and help make sure our elections are free and safe. Because we actually have our voting machines tested by professional hackers. And if anybody finds something, the Elections Assistance Commission helps aid, make sure we get our protection put better in place. He's completely eliminated or tried to defang that tool. He is systemically trying to take away all of the protections of our election system. And I think the most important thing we must do is not get discouraged by this, but go out and kick their ass. And I say that because I'm going to get really a bunch of dagger eyes from people. Of course, if you live here, and for those of you who live in the county, this may not be that radical a statement, but I wouldn't actually mind to have a return of a rational Republican Party. You know, a rational Republican Party where we can argue and disagree, but do it civilly. Count me in. But I can tell you, at least in Washington, D.C., there is no Republican Party. There are Donald Trump lapdogs, sycophants, and if I hear one more time from one of my Republican colleagues, oh, Mark, you're right. You're right. Or, oh, Mark, you know, it's like you're our conscience. I don't want to be your damn conscience. Vote your conscience if you're a United States Senator. And they have failed to do that. And nothing like a good whooping to maybe bring back some rational folks back to our not adversaries, but our folks that we're going to contest elections on going forward. I wanted to start with this because nothing is more important than the security and sanctity of free and fair elections. And nothing would be more ironic in our 250th anniversary. Remember Franklin said, back when our country was founded, well, we Americans have got a republic if you can keep it. We have to keep it this year. And that drives more than any particular issue, I have to say at the outset. But it doesn't mean we don't lack for other issues. And let me go through two or three quickly, and I will stop talking when the first person faints from the heat exhaustion. Let's talk about, we all know about, the enormous costs that are going up.
Yes.
One of the areas the costs are going up, that we've seen this repeatedly, and this is made worse by Trump's policies, is around health care. We've seen Obamacare tax credits run out. We're about to see, come after November, 300,000 Virginians lose their health care because of Medicaid cuts. My background is a business guy. I've been trying to figure out a way to patch our system. I have come to a conclusion, not just for moral reasons, but frankly because the only way we can bring down costs. It is time for America to have universal health care. Now, let me tell you, I'm not going to say, I'll look at Medicare for a while, look at what's going on in Australia where there's private health insurance that is mandated across the board. I don't have the solution yet, but we cannot fix this totally broken system. We cannot fix a system where entities like PBMs that maybe had a purpose 30 years ago simply skim off the profits left and right. We can't have a system where people who tell the truth, for example, at Augusta Health, when they have to shut down rural health clinics because of these future cuts, are kind of held in contempt. We got to start with universal health care because that's the only way we can focus on what we really need to do, which is bringing down costs. No field has had more technology change than healthcare, yet none of that has brought about cost reduction. So if I get rehired, healthcare is an area that I want to start with. Amen. I also want to make sure that, and I promise I'm not going to give away the most classified information here.
Oh, why not?
going on. You give me a beer or two and I'll tell you the story about it. I'll give you the truth on UFOs. The other thing we got to do, and which will go down, I think, is maybe Trump's worst on his international mistakes. This Iran war of choice is a disaster. I can promise you, I saw all the intelligence. There was no imminent threat from Iran. This is a war of choice. And this war of choice so far, let's look at what it's done. We've lost 13 service members, and only through the grace of God, that's numbers not 3 or 4 times that. We have spent $60 to $70 billion of our weapons. We have ended up driving up gas prices, diesel prices. They came down a little bit. Diesel's back up above $5. The cost to every American consumer, just in gas prices, is over $250, $300. That doesn't count all the other inflationary factors that have come about. On top of that, the administration finally said, well, what do they want to get out of this war? Here are their 4 goals. 1, regime change. Well, how are we doing? No. The new guy, whoever he is, wherever he is more radical than the last. Second, we're going to get rid of their enriched uranium. How are we doing on that? No. Matter of fact, the general head of the Defense Intelligence Agency who told the truth after we bombed them the first time, who said, yeah, we bombed them, hit them hard. But he wouldn't use the word obliterated, and he got fired. And clearly we've not obliterated that because those facilities are still there. It would take 20,000 troops on the ground. And you want to have your sons, daughters, or grandkids go serve in another war in the Middle East? He said he wanted to get rid of Iran's ballistic missiles and drones. Guess what they're shooting at us with? Ballistic missiles and drones. And again, nerding out a little bit with apologies. One of the stupidest things that has happened, and this is saying a lot when you're talking about the Trump administration. There's a lot of stupid there. But we are shooting missiles that cost us $2.5 million apiece to take down an Iranian drone that cost $50,000. And they got hundreds, if not thousands of them. Here's the part that adds stupidity to the bad policy choice. You know who has figured out how to shoot down Iranian drones? Ukraine. Ukraine came and said to Donald Trump in December, we will give you all of our drone technology. We can take down Iranian drones at less than $5,000 a pop. And the Trumpers said, no thanks. So we have run through our munitions, and we are not even keeping up with the nature of warfare. And by the way, that Strait of Hormuz, where not only oil and natural gas, but fertilizer implements, agriculture, it all goes through here. And that was never in question until this war of choice. And to add insult to injury, this week, the first poll, they do these polls, international polls, virtually every year. China is viewed more favorably around the world than the United States. That is an embarrassment. It is also a greater national security threat because when we, for many of our years, were viewed as not only the military power, economic power, but we were viewed as the good guys. When we have allies, that helps us, that makes us more secure. But this man has taken every one of our allies and offended them to such a degree. It is one of the things about our neighbors to the north. It is hard to piss off Canadians. He has pissed off the Canadians. So we've got to end this war in Iran. We've got to make sure this guy no longer has ability to slap tariffs on in unprecedented ways. And the last subject I want to mention, and there are tons more, but the one that I'm probably the most obsessed about, and that is artificial intelligence. And I know, bear with me for a minute. You can throw stuff after I'm done on this. AI is coming. There's no way it's going to be put back in the bottle. And there is great potential for innovation. There's great potential for cures. But, for those of you who've known me, I was a tech guy before I got to be governor or senator. I have never seen a technology that is coming quicker, that will have more effect on our lives, good and bad, and is speeding at us at such a rate that just blows my mind. So here are the 4 things I think we got to do around AI. First of all, we need national standards on these data centers. That ought to start with making sure they bring their own power. We've had way too long of non-distributed power generation. I think we have to make sure they bring clean power. I'll get half the crowd will hoot on this. I think the only way, we need solar, wind, geothermal, all of the above, but we also need, you'll move from clapping to maybe booing on this. We're not going to meet all the power needs we have without nuclear back as well. And small modular reactors, I think we need to take a good serious look at. They don't have to connect to the grid, they can bring the power. We need power of their own. They need water, and not take your water use. They need to be set back from communities. They need to make sure the backup power is clean as well. They need to make sure before a community decides whether they want this or not, the community can't sign a non-disclosure agreement and not let the community know completely the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we have to find a way to extract a dependable source of revenue from. The free ride has got to be over. So there are a variety of ways to do this. We could token tax, electric use tax, but one of the things that I'm going to put out to start with here is to say, if you don't meet this criteria, the hammer will be you don't get accelerated tax depreciation. That would generate $50 billion across the country. That's a relatively small amount when we need to have the needs, but at least it puts some teeth in, and the companies can't say, well, you're not raising my taxes. No, you don't get the benefit until we make sure we've got the protections. Second area, I think most of us, at least of my age, would agree that we kind of screwed up when we didn't put guardrails on social media for our kids. As much and bad as that was and is, it is nothing compared to what a chatbot can do to your young person. We've already unfortunately seen kids commit suicide. Thank goodness the courts are saying these companies need to be held liable. And we need a set of personal protections about child exposure, child nudes, the whole use of agentic agents. I can go down to a deep rabbit hole and I'll pass out too, but there are a whole set of personal security issues. There's national security issues. How many of you ever heard of this thing called Mythos? Anybody heard of that? Okay, well, Anthropic, one of the big companies, created this new tool, and it's already been passed, and the CEO called me and said, Mark, we've created something we don't really fully understand. It was able, and I misspoke at one point earlier, it didn't break into all of our classified systems, but it found vulnerabilities in every one at a rate about 10,000 times faster than our current system. Our big bank said they are so terrified that this could destroy our financial system. So we need, before any of these models are released, we have to have a mandatory pre-testing system. You cannot rely on the goodwill of Elon Musk or any of these other tech bros, and I say that as a former one, not as rich. And then finally, the part that is the most concerning, and I know you guys are about to wilt. If you've been here for a while, I'm about to. So I'll stop and then we'll visit. Jobs. I actually believe there will be AI jobs created 5 years out. Next 5 years, I'm terrified. Matter of fact, and unlike what happened when we went to globalization, and low skill jobs were eliminated. It took 10 years. It was a slow crawling thing. I will bet, and I'll be happy to pay off the bet if I'm wrong, because I hope I'm wrong. I think we could have 30% unemployment of recent college grads in the next 2 years. And on top of that, we don't really know what to train for. If we think about it, if this was 4 years ago, we'd think, well, the basic thing we should do, and this is well-intentioned, we should teach everybody to learn how to code.
No.
Well-intentioned was not the right answer. We think about most of our universities, the biggest degrees are business or economics or those. Those are the jobs that aren't going to be there. We could take half of all the business majors and make them get a degree in some healthcare-related field. And we need to support that with dramatic tuition reduction, dramatic federal aid, student debt reduction in a way that is almost like what Roosevelt did during the Depression. Because if we don't get this right, it could be Depression-like in terms of the social fabric being ripped apart. So I'm not afraid of AI, but we can't spend our time thinking about it. We got to act, even if we screw up, because this puppy's out and running at us like mad. So I'll close with just this. I've been very honored and blessed to have the chance to serve Virginia as governor and senator, and I've loved it. Amen. There have been some times it's been a little tough, although there is a blessing I get. Of the 535 members of Congress, including all the Virginia members and everybody else, I live closer to the Capitol than anyone. To quote Sarah Palin, I can see the Capitol from the third floor in the house. And even Tim still got to schlep to Richmond. But a lot of these guys and gals have to go to you go to Montana every weekend. That would be and then we live still in the greatest country in the world. I think we as Democrats, we got to acknowledge when we screwed up. I think Joe Biden screwed up the border. But screwing up the border doesn't mean we're going to give license to a bunch of masked agents willfully picking up goons, picking up moms dropping off their kids or people going to work. Let's be honest. But it's not just brown. I've been to Farmville and the detention center. There's people of multiple colors, but 99% of them are not looking like most of us. So we need to acknowledge where we made mistakes, but we also we are at our best as Democrats when we're forward focused. That was what John Kennedy did, that's what Bill Clinton did, that's what Barack Obama did. We need to get this Democratic Party focused back on the future. We need to get this Democratic Party that offers optimism and hope. We need to make sure that we compete not in a place like Virginia, not just in Northern Virginia, Richmond, Hampton Roads, and Charlottesville, but that we win back the Valley. When Frank Nolan, for many years, and we can do it, and this is the season we can do it, because we have that free and fair election. The American people, even the Augusta County wonderful colleagues who almost voted for me as senator in 2008. I got three jurisdictions. I'd love to go out in my last race winning that one. I think they're ready and realize this guy is taking us in the wrong direction. So I'm blown away by this many folks coming out. Thank you. Stay in the fight. Don't get discouraged. I know when you turn on the TV and it's the news from Washington, you want to throw a shoe at the TV. I feel the same way, and some nights I'm inside the TV. But this is our moment. I was with these black ministers this morning. They were saying this is the equivalent of their moment for civil rights, because this SAVE Act and some of these things, this is all about taking away voting rights, particularly people of color. This is our time of whether democracy will be preserved. And if we were to lose democracy in America, with the level of right-wing populism that is happening all over the world, it's not just us that are up the creek, but it could be the whole world. But this many people coming out on a Friday night and during a politician that's talked way too long gives me hope, heart, and let's go forward and win. You ready to win? Let's make it happen. By the way, we have in Beth Macy a great congressional candidate, and Tom Perriello, a great congressional candidate. We can pick up with the other couple seats, 4 seats this year. The path that Hakeem Jeffries, being Speaker of the House, runs through Virginia. Let's go out and kick ass. Thank you, everyone. Remember John Lewis. Remember John Lewis. I talked her up. Will you turn on the air conditioning now?